Welcome to the Co-Parenting Conversations podcast, brought to you by the Center for Divorce Education. With renowned psychologist Dr. Donald Gordon, we will delve into the complex world of co-parenting during and after divorce and separation. Join us as we explore some of the emotional, legal, and practical aspects of parental breakups, helping you navigate this transformative journey with wisdom and guidance. Whether you're currently going through a divorce, contemplating separation, or supporting a loved one in their journey, the Center for Divorce Education is here to empower you with knowledge and offer you a roadmap towards a brighter future. The information presented in this podcast is intended for educational purposes only. The presentation of this material is not intended to constitute mental health therapy or to diagnose mental health disorders. The presentation of this material is not intended to constitute legal advice. Participants are encouraged to discuss specific legal questions with a licensed attorney of their choice.
Welcome to Season 3, Episode 3 of the Co-Parenting Conversations podcast by the Center for Divorce Education. We provide online parenting classes for divorcing and separating parents. I'm Jamie, and today we will be going over the 5 stages kids go through during divorce. And as usual, I've got Dr. Donald Gordon and my colleague Chelsea with me here. And I do want to start out by stating kind of the obvious here, that all children are different. So some of these steps may not apply, or kids may be stuck in one of the steps or not go through some of the steps at all. So Chelsea, you want to list the 5 stages kids go through?
Sure. Stage 1 is denial. The second stage is anger. The third stage is bargaining. Fourth is depression. Fifth is acceptance. Most of these stages are surrounded by loss of the parents' relationships together. So like you said, this can differ in different children.
Okay, so the first step is denial, which usually is because the children feel like their parents will get back together and don't know how to think of things any other way. So this can differ, obviously, with kids who haven't had a close relationship with one parent, or maybe one of the parents wasn't really in the picture anyway. But of course, all children hope that their parents will get back together at some point. So, Dr. Don, anything to add here as far as denial, or maybe suggestions of how to get kids through this first stage?
Children relate strongly and love both parents, and they're basically half of each parent. So the loss of a parent is like losing part of themselves.
Right.
Most kids hope that their parents will stay together for a lot of different reasons. They loss of contact with somebody that they love and depend on, they're comfortable with. They don't want to have to move between homes. They don't want to have their parents sad or angry, etc. It can also help to have the discussion with the kids and be honest with them that mom and dad are not going to be getting back together, instead of telling them what they want to hear.
Yeah, and we do actually cover this in our workbooks in the class as well. You don't want to give kids false hope that mommy and daddy might get back together someday, especially if that really isn't the case. You know, being honest at least lets the children have time to adjust and accept things for what they are. Chelsea, you said the second stage is anger?
Right. So statistically, most kids feel anger toward one or both of the parents, whether they can translate that or not. And it's usually due to the breakup and them feeling like the parents don't love them enough to make things work.
Well, that makes sense. Dr. Don, anything to add here?
Yeah, usually in this stage, kids can act out or maybe even blame one parent more than the other, particularly if one parent is blaming the other parent a lot. It's important to give kids a little leeway at this time and not try to blame either parent for the breakup. Kids need both parents, and it helps them get through the breakup easier if you sit down and have real talks with them about their feeling instead of immediately punishing them. But kids must go through some serious sadness and grief before anger. The 5 phases do not always occur in the same order.
It is easier said than done sometimes to not blame the other parent. We all know that. But parents do have to remember that their child is still half of that other parent, like you said. Chelsea, the third stage is bargaining, which I actually didn't know. You want to explain a little bit about that?
Yeah. So just like Don said, they have to get through the first 2 stages first, and then they end up in this place where they're trying to figure out how to fix their parents' breakup. So sometimes the kids will be like, well, if I'm really good, maybe my parents will get back together. So essentially, still a little denial, but hoping they can somehow help
a bit of bargaining, I guess. Yeah, if they're trying to do things to get their parents back together, that makes sense. Dr. Dawn, anything to add here in the third stage?
Well, it's important to understand that most kids or many kids feel like the breakup may have been their fault. So we teach this in our kids program as well. So you really want to discourage them from believing it's their fault. And you might want to even ask them if they're not voicing it. But you have to make sure that the children understand that nothing they did caused the breakup in the first place. Sometimes kids will hear their parents arguing prior to the breakup about how to handle their misbehavior, and that would cause them to think that they're the reason they broke up. Sometimes they feel at fault because their parents are emotionally really raw, and they'll snap at the kids because they're angry or stressed, and the kids might feel it's their fault. So this is why having honest conversations with your kids is so important. They want mom and dad to work it out in most cases, but being honest that it won't happen and it has nothing to do with anything I did can help a lot in the beginning stage, in the bargaining stage.
Yeah, I completely agree. Having honest conversations with our kids without oversharing or blaming can help them understand that sometimes they aren't to blame, but also help move them into accepting, the separation. So step 4 was depression, right, Chelsea?
Yeah, in this stage, kids are getting to the part where they're starting to accept things and realize that not only can they not change the breakup or get mom and dad back together, but that they're depressed and feel a little empty or alone.
I think we can all understand why this might be depressing for a kid. So yeah, any suggestions on how to help in the depression stage, Dr. Dawn?
I think that the only thing that can really be done is to empathize with your child and try to be understanding and listen to them. Avoid the temptation to fix their depression right away. Kids like to be heard and comforted, and sometimes only parents can provide that for them. Reassure them that they are not alone and that they are still loved by both parents. It also helps parents to recognize and accept their own feelings about the breakup.
We have discussed this on previous episodes, and I know it may be difficult for some parents, but kids need to know that they are still loved and cared about by both parents. Your children identify with half the other parent. So putting down the other parent can make the child feel like they are being put down as well. The final step is acceptance. And I imagine that after all these stages, it is exactly what it sounds like. The child or children are finally understanding and accepting that mom and dad aren't getting back together. The breakup is real and they can't change it. So, Dr. Dawn, are there any signs maybe that the child is in this final stage of acceptance?
Children are much less likely to fight or be as upset about the breakup. Some might just stop bringing it up altogether, but they may also start feeling like they can be open to others about the breakup like their friends. And they will usually seem a little happier and loving at this point and are reassured by the new routines, especially if they're having frequent contact with the other parent when they're missing them, like getting on FaceTime when they're missing one of the parents.
We do hope that this has been helpful for some of you parents out there. And thank you again, Dr. Dawn and Chelsea. We'll see you guys next time.